Today we're tackling anxiety, what it is, how it manifests, and most importantly, how to manage it effectively. I'm going to offer you 7 research-backed ways to better manage your anxiety symptoms. Do you ever feel like your heart is racing, your mind won't stop spinning, and you're constantly on edge? Or do you find yourself getting irritated over small things, constantly procrastinating, or having trouble concentrating even on things that you enjoy? These can all be signs of anxiety. Anxiety is one of the biggest and most common issues people are dealing with today. More than 31% of people in the US will experience an anxiety disorder in their lifetime. And of course, these numbers are probably low, as we all know that mental health struggles can go unreported. It's important that we identify anxiety in our own lives and figure out how to manage it as effectively as we can. Anxiety is a biological and psychological experience, and over the past few decades, we've gained a lot of advancements in treating it, which is why we all need access to affordable healthcare and mental health care. And if you're in the States and you haven't enrolled in an affordable healthcare plan, go over to healthcare.gov and enroll now. If you find yourself in crisis or needing extra support, you can also call the crisis response line at 988. This video comes to you as part of the Better Internet Initiative supported by the Fellow Americans Education Fund. What is anxiety? Anxiety is a natural response to stress. Its goal is to help us identify and prepare for danger that we can't quite see yet. In so many contexts, it's a life-saving and amazing mechanism in your brain that helps keep us safe. But sometimes it can get stuck on, like a check engine light that stays on even after you figure out that your engine is fine. And when this happens, it can interfere with our daily life and our ability to function. And we call that an anxiety disorder. Now, there are several types of anxiety disorders out there. Things like generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, panic disorder, social anxiety disorder, and even specific phobias. Now, if you want to learn more about any of those, I have videos about all those topics. You can just search them here on YouTube. If you have ever experienced any symptoms of anxiety, you know how incredibly uncomfortable and debilitating they can be. I personally tend to lean more on the anxiety side of things. It can make it hard for me to sleep. I can find myself having anxious-based dreams, even anxious thoughts that spin me out forever. Which is why I want to talk about 7 research-proven techniques for managing anxiety. Number 1 is grounding. We talk about grounding a lot. I see it on TikTok. People put their feet in the ground outside, like barefoot in the grass, and that definitely has its place here. However, when I'm talking about grounding, I'm talking about what to do in the moment when you start to feel your anxiety pick up. We all know that experience. Maybe I feel my heart start to beat faster. Maybe I find myself taking shorter breaths. Maybe my palms start to sweat. What do you experience when your anxiety starts to build? That's the time when we want to do some of these techniques. Now, some that I love are stomping your feet. Wherever you are, just up on the ground. The vibrations through your body from your feet up your legs helps bring you back into your body. We can also do a full body shake, right? I talk about those all the time, getting all that anxious energy out, giving it a place to go. We can look around the room and look for the number of things that are brown, blue, black, etc. We can also try the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Grounding techniques can be incredibly beneficial and help us get out of that spiral, because I don't know if you feel this way, but sometimes when our anxiety starts, it picks up and before we know it, we're into a panic attack, or we're so deep in the anxiety we can't get out. And this can help bring us back. Cognitive behavioral techniques, or CBT. Now, CBT focuses on changing negative thought patterns. Like I was just talking about, those negative spirals that can just pull us out. Like when you lay in bed at night and you replay the last 10 years and all the embarrassing things you've done, or all the ways you acted that you wish you could take back. When that starts to happen, we have to become aware. A huge piece of CBT work is becoming aware of those thoughts. So start to get to know them. No judgments, right? We're gonna be curious, not judgmental. Start keeping track of them. Maybe right before bed, maybe first thing when you get up in the morning, you jot down some of the thoughts that you've had. Trust me when I tell you, you'll start to see a pattern. You'll start to see the same thoughts over and over and over again. I don't know if you know this, but 92% of our thoughts, they allege, are thoughts we've had before. That's a wild number to me. So pay attention, notice them, and then I want you to work on challenging them. A great way to do this when they're anxious-based thoughts is to check our facts, and that's a CBT tool. We use this tool to help us better understand whether it's a thought that we've had that has no basis in reality or whether it's an actual fact. And sometimes I even tell my patients, I'm like, consider this fact, would it hold up in a court of law? Did this really happen? Is the fact that you're worrying now going to help with anything? Right? These are some good ways to check. Another CBT tool that I love is called Play It Out. So let's say our anxiety is based around a potential future thing, right? Because I said anxiety tries to help us prepare for situations we can't see yet. So let's play it out. What's the worst case scenario that could happen right now? Think about it. Worst. Give it your worst. Then, what's the best case scenario? Rose-colored glasses. Life is amazing. Puppy dogs and ice cream. What would that look like? Give me that. And then, I want you to consider the most likely case. What's most likely to happen? Some things will go well, some things won't. Tell me about that and play it all out in as much detail as possible. And doing these techniques can help not only stop those thoughts from spiraling us out, but it can also challenge us to see things in a different way and to be more realistic about it versus letting our anxiety run the show and tell us everything's going to be terrible. Number 3, lifestyle strategies. Incorporating healthy habits can reduce our anxiety. These can be things like regular exercise. And you get to meet your body where you're at. I'm not saying anybody needs to run marathons or you have to do yoga or you need to do this or that. Regular movement. Get your body moving. Also, eating regularly. Having a balanced diet can be incredibly helpful. And a huge one is getting adequate sleep. We know through research we're supposed to sleep for at least 7.5 hours. Make sure that you're giving yourself an opportunity to get that sleep. Too often we lay in bed, myself included, and like scroll on TikTok or check out Instagram or go through emails or photos. We don't need to be doing that. Give yourself an actual chance to get the sleep that you need because trust me, it can make a huge difference. I also tell my patients a lot when we start to feel like day after day we're more and more anxious, maybe have a shower. I swear, a shower can sometimes change your life. So incorporating some of these lifestyle strategies can really set us up for success and help us feel better. Number 4, self-care practices. I talk about this all the time and I use the acronym HALT. Stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. We often think that self-care has to be this thing that costs a lot of money and it means I have to take vacation or I need to do a face mask or whatever. Sure, we can do those things. That'd be great. I would love vacation. I could use a massage, right? But that's not really what self-care is. Self-care doesn't have to cost you anything. It shouldn't take, honestly, most of the time more than a half an hour, sometimes 10 minutes. Self-care could look like taking a longer than usual shower. It could mean that we're eating regularly balanced meals. It can mean that we're getting enough sleep. We're taking our medication as prescribed. All of that is really, I think, a key piece of our self-care that we don't talk about enough. It shouldn't cost you anything extra. It shouldn't take you a ton of extra time, but we should prioritize making sure our basic needs are met in a way that feels good for us. So make some time today. Engage in activities that you enjoy. Maybe you want to read or garden or spend time with your loved ones. All of that's going to be key to us being better able to manage our anxiety because what we're doing is we're increasing our resilience, otherwise known as our ability to weather life's storms. So as something happens, we might not feel so vulnerable to those symptoms of anxiety. Number 5, mindfulness and relaxation techniques. I know. You hated that I said it, and I hate that I have to put it here, but it's important and it actually does work, okay? It might not work for you, and that's okay. That's why there are other options that I'm offering. but being more mindful, to be focused on the present. Anxiety is a future-focused mental illness. It tells us to worry about tomorrow, to worry about a month from now. If we can practice some deep breathing, if we can consider the things that we're grateful for today, that can all be incredibly beneficial. Maybe that means that we journal, we color, we can do all sorts of things to try to bring us into the present. We can try to, minimize our distractions. We can have a deep breathing practice, or we can use one of those guided meditation apps. There's a ton of them out there, all different costs, or some of them are free. Find something that works for you. You can even do some somatic techniques. If you don't know about somatic experiencing, it allows you to bring yourself into your body right now, to notice where you feel anxiety in your body. Are you clenching your fists? Do you feel your heart racing? Is your stomach in cramps? Pay attention to that. Start bringing that in, because that allows us to know if the anxiety is there and hanging around, maybe getting worse, or not. Then we can take action, right? We can also, if we find ourselves disconnecting, and that's when we go into maybe a panic attack, we can try to feel the hot water on our hands. We can run our arms under the faucet. We could do some progressive relaxation, which is like clenching and releasing muscles. And you could start with your feet, work your way up. There's even progressive relaxation videos on YouTube. You can just listen and follow along. Those are all great ways to better get you in your body, out of this future-focused worry land and into the present. Number 6 is limiting caffeine and alcohol. I know, but both caffeine and alcohol can increase anxiety levels. Caffeine is a stimulant that speeds up bodily functions, and it can mimic anxiety symptoms, like giving us a fast heartbeat, increased breathing rate, and body temperature. Caffeine can also block endosine. It's a chemical that causes alertness, which can lead to nervousness or restlessness. And high doses of caffeine can also decrease serotonin production, which can lead to a depressed mood. Now, while alcohol itself can suppress anxiety while we're drinking, it can also cause what they call a rebound effect, which can make our anxiety worse afterwards. We call this hangxiety a lot. People use that term, hangxiety. But this happens especially for people who already have a propensity for depression or anxiety, or are struggling with an anxiety disorder. And some even say that the amount and frequency of alcohol use is more important than the type of alcohol, but there aren't really specific studies to support this. Just try to reduce your intake, or if you're able, avoid them altogether. And I read, and I hope I'm getting this right, but I did read that the average person, studies show that the average person can drink about 400 milligrams of caffeine, like coffee, a day without having any of those detrimental effects. So just be aware of how much caffeine intake you're consuming every day. Look at what you're drinking. A lot of us can drink energy drinks like Celsius or Monsters or Red Bulls. How much caffeine is in that? Because sometimes we like the taste and we end up drinking more, and then we've pushed ourselves over that average amount. Now, I love coffee. You guys know I'm from Washington State. I love coffee, but we just need to be aware of how much we're consuming and how it affects us. Number 7, seeking professional help. Sometimes we aren't able to engage in any of the other tools and resources I offered because our anxiety is too intense. I talk about this all the time, that if we can't participate in some of this wellness or self-help stuff, that means we need more support. If we can't get our head above the water of our symptoms enough to try out these tools, that means we're going to need other help. This could mean that we need to get in to see a therapist. This could mean that we should see a psychiatrist and maybe consider taking medication. Those are all ways that we can better manage our anxiety symptoms, especially if you feel like you're drowning in those symptoms. All of the tools and techniques I offer today are things that can help us in the moment, but if you find yourself still struggling, please reach out and please speak up and get help. That's why therapists and psychiatrists exist, is to help people when we're struggling. So speak up. There's also free groups online and other resources like the crisis text line if you need help now and you don't have the resources to afford, to see a therapist, you're on a wait list. There are other ways to get help. I also have an anxiety workbook that's available on my website at katimorton.com. I have tons of videos with other tools and ideas. There are low-cost ways to get therapy, whether that's through BetterHelp or Talkspace or any of those things, but reach out and speak up, because with help, it can and will get better. If you have any other tools and techniques that have helped you better manage your anxiety symptoms, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. You never know who you're going to help. Make sure you're subscribed and have your notifications turned on so you don't miss out on next videos as they come up with more tools and resources helping you in your mental health journey. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.